Hey everybody, it's Brian over at Strong Tower and bringing you our next video series. So we just went through a series on why brain-based training is best, and this sort of fits into that, and it's the next layer of, hey, how's the practical application go? So when we start doing some neuro training things, we're doing brain activation for the midbrain or the cerebellum or whatever the area is that we're trying to target and upregulate, or maybe it's inhibit. How do we start to piece some of those things together? So if you've been training with us for a while, this is for you, and it's a great sort of application of how do we go from vision exercise and maybe a movement exercise, and then how do we start to stack them together. So this should be maybe like a 10 to 12 part series, and we're going to basically bring you my favorite stacks, so things that we can piece together, layer together as far as vision or vestibular exercises, and then coupling them with movement to keep it novel, to keep challenging you, and also to improve your results. So I think you're going to get better results if you start to do some of these stacks. So the first one is a near-far exercise, so I'm just going to use the camera today as my far target, so visually I can focus in, work on acuity there. And then I also have my near target, which is this trusty pen. So I'm going to start with the pen about 6 to 12 inches away from my face and lined up with that far target. And then my goal here is just jumping my eyes back and forth from near to far while maintaining a long, tall posture and making sure that I'm also breathing at the same time. So I'm doing my target jumps from near to far. This is a great midbrain or mesencephalic activation for you. And then we're also going to layer in some joint movement. So I'm going to pick a linear movement because the vision exercise is linear, or it's a linear pattern as well. So I'm going to just pick an inside ankle tilt. So I'm going to start to tip to the inside of my ankle, get a nice stretch, decompression at that joint there on the medial ankle, and then I'm also jumping my eyes back and forth, breathing, and layering those things together. So you can switch hands, you can switch to the other ankle. And that's near far. That's a binocular version that I just showed you. We could also do a monocular version, so we could throw an eye patch, one of those pirate patches over an eye. You could also just cover your eye with your hand. You could close your eye. A lot of times with squinting or closing the eyes, we're actually creating a bunch of stimulation in the facial nerve. So tensing up your face is controlled by one of the cranial nerves, which is called the facial nerve. And if we are after that kind of activation, maybe you want to squint. But typically, to sort of separate things out and make sure we're only doing so much at a given time, we'd use something like an eye cover or an eye patch. So same thing, you can go back and forth from near to far. You have that near target 6 to 12 inches away, working on both eyes, doing the joint movement, and then refocusing back and forth on the target. The pattern there is anytime that we do a monocular drill, or we're trying to activate maybe it's right cortex that we're after, we're going to get a stronger stimulus if we do right eye to right cortex. So maybe that's a good activation drill, and we want to do some of that work. But we also always want to kind of reintegrate. So if we did a single eye drill, we would immediately follow that by going back to the binocular version or using both eyes together. So we're just jumping back to a few repetitions there. Near to far, you could do outside ankle tilts. We could do an elbow movement, a knee movement. You can vary that up. But great drill to stack near far with a joint movement. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll come to you with part 2 in this series, and excited for it.